Are you still manually calculating your cash flow forecast every week? What if I told you that you could automate it in minutes and never worry about cash flow surprises again? In this video, I will show you how to use Microsoft Power Automate to build a fully automated weekly cash flow forecast system. A cash flow forecast helps business predict how much money they will have in the next week, month, or year. Simply put, it's calculated using accounts receivable, or the money that is coming in, accounts payable, money that is going out, and the projected sales. We will be working with 3 Excel files. So we have the accounts receivable file, accounts payable, and sales forecast. Let's look at contents of each file separately. First, let's look at accounts payable. Keep in mind that all of these files are hosted on OneDrive Personal, so you can reproduce this at your end as well without having Microsoft 365 subscription. Alright, so there is some basic data. So we have date, we have vendor name, payment amount, currency, and status column, which contains either pending or paid. We have accounts receivable in a similar format. And then we have sales forecast. You can see dates, projected sales, and expected collection amounts. Alright, without further ado, let's jump into Power Automate. So I'm at the home window. Click on create. And from here, we will select scheduled cloud flow because we want this to run at a schedule. Let's call it weekly cash flow forecast. It's gonna start at today, and 10 a.m. is fine. So we will set frequency to 7 and we'll say day. So every 7 days. Ideally, you would set this at Monday or whatever is your week start. You click on create and you will see that you already have first step auto created, that is recurrence, interval 7, frequency day. Click on new step. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get data from these 3 files we have, so accounts payable, receivable, and the sales forecast from our OneDrive connector. So we'll use list rows present in a table. Simply select Excel Online OneDrive so you get the exact match. And here it says list rows present in a table. One thing I forgot to advise is it's important to have this data in a table format, which makes it much easier to retrieve using Microsoft Power Automate. So here I have these in a table format, and I have named the tables as well because this makes it easier to retrieve data in Power Automate. You see the table name, payables table. Similar format is used in the other 2 files as well. So we say list rows present in a table. Alright, so normally it will ask you to connect with OneDrive, but since I have done this before, my OneDrive is automatically connected. In your case, you can simply add the credentials to your OneDrive and it will connect to your OneDrive. So here we will browse for the file. Let's go to the folder which is projected cash flow weekly. So the first file we will look for is accounts receivable. So let's do that. And now the table name should pop up automatically, receivables table, which is correct. Let's rename the step as well. So we say AR table. Similarly, let's add 2 new steps. I'm just gonna do this. So the next thing we would like to do is we would like to apply a filter array. So click on new tab. Now we will need to apply 3 different filters for our 3 different table datas we have loaded. So we say filter array from data operation selected. And here it says array to filter. So we can go in the same sequence. So we select accounts receivable first, value. And now since our criteria of filtering is a bit complicated, we cannot use the normal mode. So we will click on edit in advanced mode. And here I will show you the filter criteria and then I will explain each one by one on what's going on. So let me add the criteria first. I'm gonna paste it here. I already have made it, and click on save. Now since the criteria is very complex, if you click on edit in basic mode, it says condition is too complex or invalid, unable to switch to basic mode. Alright, so let's copy and paste this filter criteria into a separate file, and let's start analyzing it one by one. So the outer function equals evaluates whether all provided conditions evaluate to true or not. It returns true if all conditions are met. Our second function, which is and takes in multiple values and returns true only if all the arguments are true. So our criteria 1, second criteria from here to here, and the third criteria equals. If all these three criteria are true, then this will be true. So for our first criteria, you see that we have this function here that says add days 18, 99, 12, 30. Now, we have discussed before that the date that is coming from Excel to Power Automate is in a different format. So again, if I convert this into a general date format, you will see that this is basically just a number. And this is the same thing that goes into Power Automate. Now, to convert this into a proper date format within Power Automate, we add this specific function to it. So we add this date in the date column, which is the date column that is coming from here. And once we have the date fixed, then we check that we only filter those days where the date fixed is greater than today's date, which is coming from UTC now. For our second criteria, we do the same thing by fixing the date. So we add this add days function to the date column, and then we check and filter only those days which are less or equals to today's date plus 7 days. So all those dates that are within next 7 days from today's date. Our third criteria is only those rows where the status column equals pending, which we can see here. Only those lines will be filtered where status column is pending. Right, let's get back to our flow and click on new step. So we are gonna have to filter for these three tables. Only for sales forecast table, we don't need status as pending because that column is not available in the sales forecast table. For the other one, we need to repeat the same step. So we say filter array, and this time we are gonna select accounts payable. So we say AP table. We switch to advanced mode and we add the same criteria which we added here. Click on save. And let's add another criteria for sales forecast. So we say filter array, and here we will select sales forecast tables, advanced mode. We'll paste the same thing, but let's just modify this and let's remove the last option that says equals. Hopefully I can edit this correctly. So if I do this, this should now work. So let's click on save. So far so good. Click on edit in basic mode, and yeah, since it's a bit less complex, it's able to switch in advanced mode. But if I try to switch this in advanced mode, it says condition is too complex. Alright, so let's rename these as well. Let's click on save and let's test our flow so we can see what we have so far. Click on test, click on manually, test again, click on run. Says done. Let's go to the page where it says running. If all goes well, our flow should run. So far so good. So if we click on these results, we should see our results. So we say AR input and the outputs in this format. So let's see what we have. So if we click on pretty print, it should give us some information. So you can see we do have some information that is being returned. So we have the date. As you can see, the date is in numeric format, which we addressed earlier. Customer name, invoice amount. So we have all the information that we wanted. And you can see right now we have pending and paid both because we have not segregated anything so far. Similarly, we have for AP table, sales forecast table. We're going to skip the output for each of them. We have already seen for AR table. It's going to be same as those. So let's check the output for filter array. Now this should only contains pending options. So let's quickly check. So we have all those that are pending. Now the date entries, that's a good question. So what we can do is we can simply convert this into Excel format. So let me open up Excel. Let me paste this date in Excel and convert it into a date format. That will give us the Excel date. So this Excel I have here, the date has been pasted. Let me convert to date format. So it says the first date that's being picked is 4/20, which is today's date. And let's see what the last date is. So this is the last date. Convert to same format. So we have 4/25, which is the last date. And so if we look at the AR table, let's just see what dates are available. So we have till 25, 26 is there, but it's paid, so it's excluded. 4/27 is not within the next 7 days, so it's not gonna show up. So it means that we have correctly filtered our data using the filter array. We're gonna assume that the data is correctly filtered for AP and sales forecast as well. So far so good. Let's go back to the edit mode. Click on edit. And let's continue next steps. Right, so for our next steps, we will initiate 3 new variables. So click on new step. And from here, we will find initialize variable. And from here, actions, initialize variable. All right, so we will say name is total receivable. The type will be a float. Or you can select integer if you know that your value will always be in a round number format. And our starting value will be 0. Let's rename the variable name. So we call it AR underscore var. Let's add 2 new variables. So we initialize the 2 new variables. Let's click on save again. I'm not sure what this error says, but sometimes this happens when the actual file that you're accessing is closed. So let's try opening these files. Sometimes this helps in resolving the error. Click on save. And you see now it seems to be fine. I'm not sure if this is a bug or some issue with Microsoft. I've seen this happen before, and this is how you resolve it. So let's close these files, or hopefully this error will not come up again. For our next steps, we need to add apply to each, and we need to add values to the variables which we have created, which right now are at 0 value at the initial value. So you'll say apply to each. This will be within the control, so select it. And for the first part, we will select body for the receivables. So if we find AR, so we'll select body from here, and we will say add action. And now we will find increment variables. So we find that increment variable, and here we will select the name of the variable which we created. You can see if you click on drop down, you will see the list of variables we created. So let's select total receivables, and for value, what we would like to pick up is the amount column. So if we look at the table here, comes receivable, the invoice amount, this is the column we want. And let's do F2, Control C to copy the column name. Now the way to extract the column from a table inside of our automate is simply by doing item function. So if we actually do this here, so we say item case of name function, and then we simply add a question mark. So that says what column you want, and in square bracket and single quote, you just add the column name, which is the invoice amount. And this is how you are able to extract the column name from a Power Automate table inside of our automate. Next, we simply wrap all of this inside of a float variable, because the problem is that this data will be picked up and it might not be in a float variable format. So we simply say float and we wrap all of this inside of float. Click on OK. And you see this adds the value for this variable. Click on save and we can rename the variable as well. So we say rename, we say apply each AP. This is actually AR, apply each AR. Similarly, we'll add two new steps. We will add two new apply to each. So one for total payables and one for projected collections. So I'm going to do this quickly. And I guess we can test it now. And then we will see what the value is added in each of these. Click on test, manually test, run flow. Right, so it says flow run failed. Let's see what the problem is. The variable projected collections type float cannot be initialized with type string. So value float integer. Did we add a float in here or what happened here? So let's click on edit and see here. All right, so I forgot to wrap this inside of float, and this is the error I was talking to you about, which you would receive if you do not wrap this inside of float, because the data that is coming from Excel is not always recognized correctly. So as you've seen before, the dates were not correct. They were being recognized as strings, and sometimes the numeric values are also recognized as strings. So wrapping this inside of float solves this issue. Click on update, click on save, and let's test this again. Hopefully this time it should run properly. Test, manually test. Click on run flow, click on done, and let's see what we have. So far so good. So we have this here. So let's look at the variables, and you see variables created with value 0. Let's look at first apply to each. So it seems like it ran 4 iterations. So first iteration it picked up 1800, and next iteration picked up 1300, and the total value is now 3100. And if we look at the next one, and let's look at the last one, and we have the value, final value at 4900, which means that the increment has been done properly based off the filter array we created above here. We can assume that this is correct for these to apply for each as well. And this is how you are able to create new variables and add new values or increment new values in them. Right, so let's go back to edit. We are almost done here. Let's just complete the final few steps and let's shape this up in a presentable format. Right, so for our last step, click on new step. Next, we will create a new variable or compose action, which will add the values from each 3 variables which we incremented values for above. So we get one final value. So we say compose action, and from data operation compose inputs, we'll again use an expression. All right, so what we need to do is we need to subtract the total receivables and total payables and then add the projected collections. So the way we do it is we first add sub for subtract, and here we'll call these variables using variables function, and we'll use total. Just gonna type the name out. This is always going to be manual, so we say total variables, total receivables, and second is the second subtract amount is variables And here we'll give total payables. So we subtract total receivables and total payables, right? And then we do is we add the projected collection. So the way we do it is we wrap all of this inside a bracket, parentheses, and we say add, and at the end we simply add a new variable. We say projected collections, and this way the difference of first two variables will automatically be added to the last one, which is projected collections. So let's add it here. Click on OK to see if this function or this expression is correct, and looks like it is correct. So let's click on save and let's test this again to see if our compose action is correct. Don't test. And this time you can use a recently trigger, so we will click on automatically with a recent use trigger, and we will use a test which was succeeded. This actually makes it a much easier to use and much faster. Okay, so our compose action has 12,350, which we'll verify later, but it means that the sum and the subtraction seems to be working fine. Let's go back to edit. And the next thing we need to do is we need to add this data inside of a Excel file. Alright, so in our OneDrive, let's create a new file. Let's call it Excel document. And we'll add a few column names and we'll convert it into a table and rename it. So the columns we want is week start date, total inflows, total outflows, projected collections, and net cash flow forecast. Let's convert this to a table. So Control T. Well, this actually does not work inside of this. So we click on Insert Table. So we have headers, yes. And let's rename the table as well. So table design, let's call it, it's a good name. So we call it weekly cash flow table. And let's rename the file as well. This is the most important part, renaming the file. So we say weekly cash flow forecast. All right, this is good. Now let's go back to Power Automate, click on new step, and the step we're looking for is add a row into a table. So we'll find that. We say add a row into a table, and we want this for Excel OneDrive. Let's try to find it. Add a row into a table. Right, so this is the one. So we select the file name, which is inside our projected cash flow weekly. File name is weekly cash flow forecast, which we just created now. The table we're looking for is weekly cash flow. The advanced options is says for, right, so this gives you the column names. So we have week start, net cash flow. So date time format is, I don't know, let's leave it blank for now. So week start date. So we can simply use UTC now for this. So we say expressions, UTC now. We can always format UTC now later. So just click on OK to see if this gets picked up. Rest of our total inflows, this should be total receivables. Let's add this. For total outflows, this should be total payables. For projected collections, we have the new variable. And for net cash flow forecast, you should remember that this is coming from the compose action. So we will select the output of it, click on save, and this is a moment when we finally test this to see if our Excel gets updated correctly. So let's click on test, fingers crossed. We can simply use the last used trigger. So hopefully, let's see if this works. Okay, so everything looks good. Hopefully it's got picked up, and yes, you can see that data is here. So we have total inflows, outflows, collections, and net cash flow. Now let's try to reconcile this. So let's see if we can do that manually. All right, so this is the accounts payable file, and As you know, we already filtered out the paid ones, so let's only select pending. And today's date is April 20th, 2025. From here till here is 3200, which is correct, and which is what we have here as well. So it's taking from today onwards, from tomorrow onwards till 7 days. So 420th is not added in this. If you want that to be added and actually 427 removed, we would have to adjust our flow a bit, which is very easy. All right, so let's test the other one as well. Let me clear the filters. So the range we want to look for is 421 till 427. Look at this one as well. So 421 till 427. So we have 10650 and we have 10650 here as well. And for accounts receivable, let's do the same thing. We add only pending to the filter. Then we say 421 onwards to 427. So only 4 amounts. So 4900 should be the value here. And this is what we have here. And if we simply do this should be our formula. And you see, we have 12,350 here, which is correct. If you want these days to be changed a bit, so for example, if you want same day to be added and 7th day to be removed, you can simply adjust your flow criteria a bit. It's very simple. You simply have to change the value of the filter criteria inside of the filter array in the 3 of these, and the next value should automatically pick up correctly. You can even go a step further and generate an email as well. So let's try to do that. All right, so let's click on add a new step. Let's try to send this data through an email. Let's say we want to send this information every Monday to the higher ups to see what the cash flow status looks like, so they can plan the week accordingly. Actually, just gonna rename this. So we say compose net cash flow, and here we will say add send an email. We're looking for the free version, so we say v2. Let's see if we can find this. Send an email v2 Outlook 365 Outlook connector. Let's see if we have the simple one. So outlook.com, send an email. We have here. So for subject, so email, I'm just gonna send this to myself. So we'll say data corner 5, the email I want. For subject, I think we will have to use a dynamic expression. So we say, I guess, concatenate, and we add a string here, and then we concatenate this with UTC now, and the format we want to give is year, month, and day. So let's click on OK to see if the function is correct. All right, so we have some issue here. So I believe, so it's the issue. So we have this starts here, and then we have UTC now. I'm not sure what the issue is. Power Automate uses single quotes, so let's convert this into single quotes. Might be the issue. Click on OK, and yeah, so that was the issue. My bad. I'm mostly used to code in Python or VBA, and Power Automate for some reason uses single quotes. All right, so for body, we would have to use the advanced mode. So we select code view because we want this to be an HTML format. So we remove all of this. I already have some data pre-made, so let me paste this and let me try to explain this a bit. So B is the bold tag, so this will have whatever information inside of it, bold. Then we have a break tab, so this will add a space. Then we have receivables, payables, and project collections, and for each, if you hover over it, you can see the value of it. So the main value, net cash flow, this will be coming from compose action. Receivables, this is coming from variable. Payables, this is also coming from variables, so on and so forth. Click on save, and let's test this month's final to see if our email is generated correctly. I'm just gonna remove this from here. We can also set our UTC now inside of this function here. So we say, let's modify this a bit. So we say UTC now, and let's give the format year, and DD. On update, and let's test this now to see what we have. Click on test. Automatically with a recent use trigger, test succeeded. Click on test. Alright, so time to test it. Let's see our file. So we have the new data that's created, and you can see the date is correct as well for 2025. Let's look at email. So let me sign this in. Right, you can see the email that is created. Weekly net cash flow forecast, and you have the values here. So this one we made it into bold, and we have this bold here, net cash flow forecast. We have receivables, payables, and the projected collections. And there you have it. We just built a fully automated weekly cash flow forecast system using Microsoft Power Automate. No more spreadsheets, no more manual calculations, just automated insights to help your business grow. If you found this video helpful, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.